많이 놀라셨겠습니다.
산에 가서 안 오면 걱정했어요. 마침내 죽을까 봐.
마침내. 저보다 한국말 잘하시네요.
You're listening to The Night Before, a movie podcast. Each episode, we find a unique place in the city and share a drink and our thoughts about the movie we watched the night before. This is Lee, and I am joined, as always, by my husband, Jesse.
And we're back.
I'm checking your levels.
And we're back.
That's good. We're at Wulfaven.
Nope.
Haven?
Wulfaven.
Wulfaven.
Wulfaven. There's no H.
Wolf. But it's a U in the wolf.
Wolf.
Wulfaven.
Wulfaven. Wulfaven.
Wulfaven.
Wulfaven Brewery in, where are we? Carrollwood?
We're in Tampa, Florida.
No, I know that.
No, but I think this area is Carrollwood still.
Carrollwood.
Citrus
area.
Park. We're dancing around Citrus Park.
We're like in between Carrollwood and Citrus Park.
So we've been gone a while. Things have been rocky with us.
We haven't. Stop it. You're starting rumors. We've had a lot going on.
We could not enjoy a drink in the city.
We moved.
Yeah, we did. We moved home.
That took a lot out of us. But now we're back.
So
We're
if anybody wants to
settled.
experience our old home, we have a couple episodes from
We'll
our old
probably
front porch.
do.
And we also launched a movie theater since being gone.
We did.
Yeah.
We launched a movie club.
Really a movie club. Yeah, a little
And we
cinema
will be
club.
podcasting from that movie
Yeah.
club
Soon.
soon. But tonight we are at, or tonight, this
Wolf-
afternoon, we're at Wulfaven.
Wulfaven.
And it's in Carrollwood. It's a brewery. And we're drinking, do you remember the name?
Yeah.
What is it?
Oh, experimental haze.
Experimental Haze IPA. It's really good. It's really light. And,
Yeah, it's not it's not very experimental, I'll be honest.
It's not.
But it's still good.
It's definitely not. It's,
Meaning, it's just,
definitely hazy.
Yeah.
It's definitely light. It's definitely smooth and drinkable.
Mm-hmm.
But it's nothing.
there's
out of the
nothing like you're
ordinary.
going to be like, whoa, what's going on? Is someone experimenting in the back with their IPA recipe?
No, it's not. It's not. My cynical husband. It's definitely not. But I'm enjoying it.
But no, I get it. It's like a
thoroughly.
play on words. It's playing on something. Experimental haze. It just works for the name. You know what you're getting.
You know what
A
you're getting.
safe, middle of the road
Safe
hazy
hazy
IPA.
IPA.
Yeah.
Safe hazy IPA.
The name experimental haze says it all.
Okay.
I'm not complaining that I don't like it.
Anyway, this is a nice.
I'm saying I do like it. It's fine.
It's
This
a
is
good
my
atmosphere.
second one.
It's a bit sportsy right now because it's Sunday
There's a football game on.
in Tampa. So there's big football screens. But
We're nestled in
sitting-
the
we're
no
in
food allowed lounge corner
We're in the enclave.
of the section. Mhm.
Is that a word?
It is the thing.
Enclave?
Yeah.
Kind of away from the sports, but the bummer about it is we don't have any background music.
No, but
We
there's a
have-
lot of jolliness behind. You can hear people
There's a
laughing and
lot of-
chuckling.
There's a lot of merriment.
Merriment, yeah. I'm sure if you listen long enough, there'll be some young children crying soon
Sure.
because there's an abundance of
Because we're at a brewery in
small children.
Tampa.
We're an experimental brewery, so thus all the kids are
It's
here.
not experimental, but
No, it's our first
it's
time.
Football Sunday. This is our first time here, and I'm enjoying it because we haven't actually been to a brewery in a bit now, in a little
Well, since
bit.
the move and since our
Since the
last
move.
brewery episode, maybe that might be one of our last. We've been before, but yeah, we haven't gone to many breweries with the move, the month or so.
So I'm really enjoying this Sunday fun day. Get out of the new house, enjoy a brewery moment.
We also, yeah, it was also our first time going to the movies in a while.
Yeah, we went to the movies yesterday. Our favorite movie theater because,
Yeah.
well, it's not local. We really like the local indie cinemas, but This movie theater is so comfortable. It's kind of like our comfort theater.
Yeah, if you're going to go to
Right.
like the corporate AMC chain, go to a good
Right.
one.
Yeah, and this is a good one. Nice, relaxing
But I think it's also commended
seats.
because they play more of the what AMC likes to call their artisan AMC selection.
Yeah, they
the
do.
artisan selection. You know, the movies that 8 people might go to tops when you go.
So I had scoped these movies out on a smaller cinema that we often like to go to. I'm not going to mention it because we didn't go to see them. But and then the next week they were playing at the AMC,
Yeah.
and it's kind of the process of deciding to see these
Mm-hmm.
movie. This movie. There was
Yeah.
another one too, but
Yeah.
we haven't seen it.
So we saw Decision to Leave, a South Korean film
Yes,
by a director we like a lot,
Park.
Park
I call him
Chan-Wook,
Park.
Yeah.
I call him Park.
who we did a previous episode on Handmaiden,
The Handmaiden. Yeah,
a movie we really, really liked.
we loved it. We loved that movie.
Also directed another movie we podcasted about, Stoker, but that was in English. It wasn't in Korean.
Yeah.
And now with Decision to Leave, the Park Chan-Wook film, to see one of his films in the theater, we were there, excited.
Yeah, it was. I was excited to see it. It was really intriguing. There's a lot of Oscar buzz around this movie.
Which kind of is why I got your attention. I think you didn't even know Park Chan-Wook directed it.
I'm not as keen about the directors as you are. I know that I often like Korean films.
Yeah, because you told me, there's a new South Korean film, and I was like, I'm in.
And I love films with subtitles for some reason. I get really drawn in. It kind of keeps me awake to read the subtitles,
Yeah.
but it also really bums me out if I do fall asleep because I have no idea what's going on.
I think I've said this before, and I think, and you can disagree, but
Thank you.
Decision to Leave just confirmed this for me. The only people making, again, I talked about this in a previous episode, but the thought has not escaped me. The best movie, the best cinema is coming out of South Korea.
Yeah,
Still.
definitely. Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Like, if you want to see true filmmaking, and I don't know if it's because
It's something different.
but they lean on styles, an older style, like the art of filmmaking.
I really think they lean on literary styles.
Yes.
You know, they lean on those literary devices that really good novels lean on, and
But it
they
was also
weave
more-
it through their films.
But it was also stuff that was more present in filmmaking of the 60s and 70s.
Where
as
a lot
well.
of movies these days kind of just follow a formula and kind of forget about the really things that make a novel or a film really interesting.
So it's safe to say you really like this movie. Whoa.
I really liked it.
Whoa.
I did not like it more than Handmaiden.
Oh, okay. I think this beats Handmaiden easy.
I liked Handmaiden more. I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. I thought it was a great movie. I think it's going to win some Oscar stuff. But I do think it dragged on a little bit in the middle there. A bit. I would think it was a bit long. But I loved all the motifs and the themes and the kind of symbolism weaved throughout the movie that was interesting to pick up on. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
There are a lot of movies I've seen that I like better than this movie, but I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a well-made movie.
It was a bit long. I'll get into that, but I think it needed to be long for what it was doing as I thought about it more. It's a movie I instantly kind of want to see again.
I'd like to see it
Because
again.
I feel I missed so much of the filmmaking craft
I feel
that
like
I
I
think. Oh, sorry.
I feel like I was confused during certain aspects of it that I'd like to go back and see it again now that I've kind of put things right in my head and seen the ending.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if I went back, I could understand it. I was confused on the process of just what was happening at some points in the middle of the movie. But it's definitely a movie that you step away from and it resonates and you think about. And yeah, you probably want to see again. For sure.
So I'll say this. I think we'll get into it because I'm sure there might be people listening who haven't seen Decision to Leave. And I think we'll probably talk quite extensively about the whole movie. We'll save the end until
Okay.
we'll do post-song,
Post song. Okay.
and we'll talk about the very last 5 minutes.
Yeah. So people don't have to listen.
But I think the rest of it, I think we could talk and see if you agree. I think we could talk about the whole movie because it's really like 2 acts, like a part 1 and part 2 in this movie. And I think you could talk about both of them pretty openly. And kind of to your point where you're like, I'm not quite sure what was going on sometimes. I think understanding a bit more of what's happening, you could, even if you kind of know the sort of narrative of the movie, it might help I don't think it would hurt your viewing of it for the first time.
No, I don't think so. I think it would actually help it, maybe.
Because this movie...
Because it does feel confusing at times.
Because the movie on its surface is like this crime, police, murder investigation movie.
Yeah, like a drama, a dark kind of... But interwoven in that, I feel like it's very sexy... Without sex scenes.
Well,
there's no sex.
Because it's
well,
a part.
yeah, there is sex scene, but
It's a
not
part
like a
Chan-Wook
sexy
film.
sex scene. And it's a little bit of like a romantic comedy.
A little bit.
I think so.
A little bit. Well, I think it shows the playful, charming side of relationships.
Yeah.
In a movie that's mostly kind of dark.
Yeah, but even between him and his wife, and him and the suspect, there's some funny kind of romantic comedies type
That's what I mean.
parts in it. Even how they interact and whatnot. It's meant to lighten up the mood a bit
Well,
of the
yeah, it lines
subject
up
of
the
the
mood.
movie.
But I think, like I said, I think it shows the playful moments all relationships have. Which sometimes that doesn't make it into movies.
Especially dramas.
Yeah. No, so that was one thing I like. The basic premise is it opens with the investigation. Well, it opens with 2 investigations, right?
Right.
One of this sort of murder that's happening in this certain neighborhood. But then also, more importantly, this murder, this mountain climber who has fallen to his death from a mountain.
And then the main character is the police investigator.
Yeah, and the police investigator shows up, who's kind of burning the candle at both ends.
Absolutely. He has insomnia.
He can't sleep because of the stuff that keeps him awake, the crimes.
Unsolved crimes.
The unsolved crimes. His own sort of discontentment in life. And the fact that he works in one city and
his
drives home on the
wife
weekends
lives in a different
to
city.
another city.
Yeah.
And he's so exhausted, like he even has trouble staying awake on his drives home
Yeah.
for the weekends. So it opens with him investigating that murder, that death, which is start to be suspected as foul play or murder because the climber's wife was a Chinese immigrant who was here
With him.
with him.
And they find out she's been abused by him. Or they feel like he's been abused.
Yeah.
She's been abused because she shows him things. She doesn't have a typical response of her husband being dead. She kind of says like, well, I expected this to happen. I'm not surprised.
Well,
Basically,
she said, I'm not surprised.
says,
I'm like, it finally happened.
it finally happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's even kind of giggles at one point, but then they play it off like she's giggling because her Korean isn't good. She's Chinese. And the interesting part is throughout the movie, well, it plays a significant part, not just interesting, is that they use technology to communicate with each other because she's Chinese, the investigator is Korean.
Everybody else is Korean, yeah.
Everybody else is Korean, and they kind of use if Google Translate, if you will, whatever the app is to translate, which does create a communication barrier in some way. They even say a lot throughout the movie. They say words and then they say, do you know what this word means? This word means,
Yeah.
you're a suspect. Do you know what suspect means? Or you're a whatever. So I kind of like that aspect of it. It makes it a little more real,
It does. But if you remember, even Handmaiden language barrier is it's kind of something Park
He
Chan-Wook
does.
does.
But don't you think in those countries that are set so close together, that's more of a thing?
No, it is the thing. I agree.
I mean, in our country it is too. We just don't show it in movies as much.
And I think it's interesting. I think somebody we know's coming here, but I
Who?
can't tell. We'll keep. Maybe not. I think we're in the clear. All right, good. I was only prepping our listeners in case we get interrupted, but it's not.
Who is it?
We'll talk later. That's fine.
Okay.
I just thought it'd be somebody we knew.
Okay, so we don't see that in American movies as much, where language is a barrier or it changes the kind of context and what you're trying to say to someone, even though we have it every day, especially in Florida.
What I was saying was I thought it was interesting, or I like it in the fact that, like the
Handmaiden.
characters in the movie,
Oh,
and he didn't do this in Handmaiden. Handmaiden, they translated
in different
Japanese
languages.
and Korean
It was just in a different color.
in different color.
Yeah.
Where this one, anything spoken in Chinese, they don't subtitle.
Right.
You have to wait, just like the character has to wait for the Google Translate to happen, or there's even a kind of some scenes later where he says, say it in Korean.
Because
Right.
you're really getting the main character's perspective of things in this movie.
Yeah, and it's neat because you have to wait a
Who's
minute.
Korean?
You have to wait a minute for that realization of what the person has said to sink in, where like a lot of times as a viewer, you're like edge of your seat, edge of their tongue, listening
Right,
as they
it makes
talk.
it a little bit
Here you have to
more
pause.
delayed.
And there's even other things where sometimes it's just an interesting narrative choice that makes the movie great. There can even be a pretty pivotal scene, and there's one midway in the movie where he confronts her, the detective confronts the Chinese woman, the suspect, and he gives this really emotional speech, right? In Korean. And we as the viewer get what he's saying and how he's kind of crushed and lost and broken. And she's just kind of staring at him, processing some of it. But then after he leaves, she goes up and looks up a word to see the Korean word for shattered. And he says, I'm shattered. She looks up to see what that means. And it's in that point you realize that, she didn't really get the intensity of what he was communicating at that
Right.
point. And now that he's gone,
She does.
she realizes what he was really saying to her.
So what we didn't say in the synopsis is he kind of is falling for her. They have an instant chemistry connection, kind of like, but you don't know because she's a semi-unreliable narrator. You don't know if her chemistry and connection is part of her just being like psychotic,
Part of her game.
or is it real for
Yeah.
her? For him, it is.
Which on this point, too, it's
And
interesting.
he has the dilemma of being married,
'cause-
and
yeah. Well, yeah, because he kind of falls for him. He gets
falls for her.
infatuated by her.
yeah, with her.
But you also don't know, you said, is she playing a game even with her own language thing? Because she has a line which she repeats often is, I'm Chinese, my Korean isn't very good. Like
Right.
she says that, like whatever the phrase is, she says the exact same thing.
I'm insecure about my Korean or
Or
something.
my Korean is insufficient.
Insufficient, yeah.
Which she says that word for word to multiple people throughout the movie, right?
Yes.
And it could be the truth, or it could be just something she says, right?
Right.
That's part of her manipulation. But no, that's what I like about the movie. The first half, it is a little bit of a murder mystery. Did she do it? Did she not do it? But, I mean, it's obvious within like the first 10 minutes that like she did it.
I mean, it feels obvious, yeah.
And I think the point of the movie isn't, like I said, we didn't podcast about it. We watched the movie Don't Worry, Darling,
Yeah.
right? And the problem with that movie, it spent the whole time with the mystery as to like what's going on in this world, in this place. And there was much more interesting things the movie could explore. But instead, it wanted to dedicate the whole movie on trying to keep the viewer unsure of what was happening, right?
Yeah.
Where this one, I think it's even Park Chan-Wook, his intention is not to have you fooled it was whether or not she killed her husband. You know, it's less about the detective figuring out who did it. It's more about his falling and infatuation of her.
Right.
Like he's fallen in not to the crime, he's fallen into the person.
Right. And just figuring out her mentality and why she's the way she is, and like just figuring out her
He wants to understand her.
understanding.
He visualizes himself like right next to her always. I mean, he's watching her. He's on stakeouts.
Yeah.
He is, and that's what's great about the direction is it puts you as the viewer. Everything in this movie is that's why I want to watch it again. Is perfectly synchronized and framed, right? And it's not like weird cuts where it's jarring. Like there's multiple scenes in the movie where they're driving, where he's following her and then later she's following him, and they put the turn signals on at the same time.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
both take left turns at the same time, and it's just like in perfect rhythm.
And I think some of that is because when I was thinking at the beginning of the movie when he first interrogates her in the room,
and buys to the fancy sushi.
buys the fancy sushi, much to the other woman's demise. Like she's like angry about it.
Yeah.
His partner or whatever. His police
Yeah.
Anyway. And I noticed immediately, like when they're cleaning up the sushi and stuff,
Yeah.
it's all very like synchronized. And I feel like a lot of that synchronization to me, which when I said like I read something that confirmed my thinking,
Okay, what was that? Yeah.
was that I noticed during that scene, I was like, it's like their old married couple. Like they've done this 1,000 times, They
Well, they instantly fell into that married couple
industry
routine.
have this like chemistry that like they've been together forever.
Even when he's like she's at his work apartment, and they're just like cooking dinner alongside each other.
So I think the turn signals and all of that being in sync too kind of plays along with that. Like they've just met each other, but they're like completely in sync in a way. And in a way, it's like her kind of psychosis and how she is with these husbands. His kind of like just like her and the fact of his marriage and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're a lot alike, more than maybe he thinks.
Yeah.
You know. So
And
that
so-
was interesting.
and
I really liked that aspect
And so
of
what's
it, too.
interesting in the first half is just his struggle to come to terms that he's kind of infatuated with this. To me, it felt a bit like not a much better version of the film, but I'm like, first half I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, this is like Basic Instinct.
Yeah, but not as...
But this is the Basic Instinct idea, right?
Yeah.
The killer, Sharon Stone,
Kind
and
of.
Michael Douglas fall. He knows he shouldn't be falling for her. You know that she is the widowmaker, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the main characters, the detectives, struggle with that. Now, this isn't, which is what I liked about this Park Chan-Wook film. He tends to have really extreme violence or really extreme sex, erotic stuff in his film. This is not. This is neither.
The only sex scene in the whole movie is him with his wife. That shows his just like disinterest in his marriage.
Yes. But what's also...
And
again,
her disinterest.
But also interesting in that cutting, the editing,
Mm-hmm.
in that whole scene, it cuts, they're doing that. He looks over to the corner of the room and there's like the mold on the wall.
Right.
And then the mold in the wall blends.
It's spreading.
It blends into this, what is like an X-ray
Oh, yeah.
from the crime scene.
Yeah.
It blends into that and then blends into the TV show that the Chinese woman is watching in her apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of flowing back and forth between all those different images.
And like his thoughts are just
Yeah.
flowing while he's having sex with his wife. His
but all the different things.
thoughts are flowing from the mold. All right, there's like some good Bucks football play.
Stuff's happening.
That his thoughts are going from the mundane mold to her apartment. All
Because
while
his mind
having
is always
like
at this other
robotic
place.
sex
Yeah.
with his wife.
So that's what's great about the first half of the movie. The second half of the movie, everything, this is why I feel like it had to be so long. Everything sort of switches. If the first movie was him obsessing over her, that like male gaze, if you will, you talked about it in Silence of the Lambs, right? Everybody's looking at Jodie
her.
Foster, all the males. And he's like literally up in her space mentally in his mind.
Mentally, yeah.
It changes, and now the whole second half of the movie, and you got to give that sort of respect of that time, is her
In his space.
gaze, the female gaze all
Yeah.
over him.
Yeah.
Like he used to take notes about her into a smartwatch. He would talk about what she was doing,
At all times, yeah.
and then she's doing it now,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
He ends up moving away and dedicates his life with his wife, and she moves to the city. She goes to him.
Gets remarried.
Yeah. And a whole nother murder investigation.
A
A whole nother murder
investigation
happens.
comes out. But she moves to where he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the obsession, well, never dies in him, but switches.
But then there's that powerful line later in the movie, right? Where she says to him,
You called it. You called the babies. Go ahead.
yeah, I told you the babies would start crying. Just give it time. Where he says, she's telling him about a time you said you loved me. And he's basically saying, when? I never told you I loved you.
Yeah.
And again, it's that language thing, right? It's about interpreting the words you say and how they're meant.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he never outward ever said to her, I love you.
Yeah.
But she said that time you told me, you used your words to say you love me.
Right. So he goes back and tries to figure out when did he say
It's
that?
like hearing that thing. You're like, when did I ever say that? And then she goes, when did I? And he's like, when did I say that? And her response isn't when you said it. She responds.
Words that meant that to her.
Yeah, and she says a thing in Chinese, which then, and I think this one time, I don't think she says this to him in Korean. I think this is when they do give us a Chinese subtitle. She says, the time you told me you loved me was when you stopped loving me. And then from there on, I've loved you I started loving you. And that's when he's like, say it in Korean. Like, tell me, what are you saying?
What are you saying?
Right?
Yeah.
But, so it's that line of when he gave up on his love for her is when she started loving him.
More.
And that's when the perspective and the gaze shift in the film, too. So you need about an hour of him
But it's
obsessing
also-
over her and an hour of her obsessing over him.
That's also part of, if you will, a killer's narcissistic personality.
yeah.
When somebody doesn't want you anymore,
Well, yeah. It's that whole, like,
is not obsessing
That
over
hard
you,
to
then
get.
you want what you don't have anymore. You know, like almost like narcissistic teenagers,
Yeah,
right?
mhm.
Or a narcissistic person who only a widowmaker type person has to be classified as a narcissistic
Yeah.
person.
Well, that was his struggle in the first half of the movie. Was like, I don't know if you ever really were into me or were you just using me? Because
Right.
he even and she never answers his questions because he says later when he confronts her, "Am I such a pushover to you?" And she said, and her response is, "Am I such a wicked person?"
Right.
She never says yes, like what her intentions were.
Right.
And we never fully know.
And the wonderful thing about this is it's like they're in love with each other, but do they even have an affair? Not really.
No, I don't think they ever have
never
any-
even they do kiss.
Yes, they kiss. No, the most romantic
they
thing about
don't-
them
they
is like
don't-
sharing of chapstick.
Sharing chapsticks, it's very like sweet and innocent affair.
Yeah.
It's not like this lurid sexual
No,
kind of affair at all.
no.
You're almost like,
but you know what's
are
funny?
they having an affair?
But here's the point. To the
or
point of that,
just
like, oh, they are the more like
like an
kindred souls.
emotional-
And that's what I think is so. This movie is just littered. They say in a movie, right? When you direct a movie, you're not supposed to. Anything people say or anything you put on the screen is supposed to like move the story forward or tell something, right? And I think every scene in this movie, every image on the screen is meticulously thought about and has a reason.
Mhm.
And I could probably go down a whole list of them. I'll do my best. But thinking to your part, right, about how they're matched, but yet there's not that sexual component, there's just the person component. The Chinese suspect is love interest. She is always going through his pockets, right? But she does it in a very familiar way. She goes to one spot and she does the same thing every time. She goes to one
Gets
pocket
the
and she gets out the chapstick. She uses it, puts it on him. She puts it back. She goes to the other pocket. She gets out the mint and she takes the
it in
mint
her mouth.
and then she puts it back. The one time, there's very few scenes where the detective is actually with his wife. But when they're in like the fish market or whatnot, the wife is with them. She is constantly rummaging through his pockets, and she can't find what she's looking for.
Anything.
ever.
Yeah, true.
It's like repeat, and they don't talk about it. They don't mention it, but you just see her. She's trying every pocket of his, and she can't. And she's looking for his wallet or money or something, and she can't find anything. She can never get what she wants. Where the other woman is just nonchalant and instant.
Right. True. I didn't think about that.
No, the movie has this stuff everywhere. Like, you think it's a little weird, but since it's a movie about perspective, like even in that fish market, it starts off that scene with the husband and wife looking through the eyes of a fish, right?
Yeah.
And then the wife poking the
Pokes the
fish
fish.
in the eye. And then what does the husband constantly do throughout the entire movie?
Wash his hands.
No, he's always putting eye drops
eye
in his
drops.
eyes.
Yeah.
Because he can never see
Oh,
clearly.
True.
He's always lost in this fog and this mist and his eye. Now, part of it's his sleep deprivation, which the Chinese woman is the only one who can really help him sleep.
No, that's.
But
yeah.
he's always putting eye drops in his eye. You see a lot of things like through the screen of the phone.
Oh no, there's so many like the eye motif.
Yeah.
Definitely, there's the wave motif because they keep saying like the grief comes in waves, and then they have the sea, and of course we'll talk about the ending
What do you
later,
remember?
but-
What did she say about mountains and waves and the seas? Because when she's being interrogated,
Well,
she
she
says,
says she never really liked the mountains.
"Yes," she said, "I've never climbed a mountain. I don't like the mountains.
It's my husband likes the mountains.
My husband likes the mountains.
He always tries to get me to
I
come.
like the sea."
I like the sea.
And there was something about mountains. It was something about mountains kind
Well,
of
there's
inhibit you.
and there's definitely like throughout the movie, there's a lot of like climbing to the top and being on the edge and falling down because the buildings
Yeah, yeah.
that they're chasing up to the top, coming to the
True.
edge of
A lot of
the
top of buildings.
mountains, the cliffs, like a lot of that.
Well, yeah, that's one
like
thing I want
going
to
to
see
the
again.
edge, you
Because she
know?
talks about how the mountains are one type of personality and the sea is another. And she is of the sea.
Right.
And that's what I thought was interesting is the movie starts, the first half of the movie,
He's in the mountains.
the first hour is the mountains, is the top of buildings, is all that. The second half of the movie is on the water, by the sea, in a swimming pool. Like the murder, the death of the second husband happens in the water.
Kind of like the calming in the end
and the
versus
movie,
the climbing to the
yeah, but it's also like the
beginning,
different
you know.
personalities
Yeah.
and perspectives.
Because also it's not just the top of building; it's the climbing up the roads in the city that they're
Yeah.
in, like the exhaustiveness of climbing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of that.
That's what I mean. The first half is all that.
Yeah.
And the second half is the water. And the movie starts with
and
the
it's
mountain.
going down to
and it
the
ends
sea.
yeah, and it ends with the sea. And her wallpaper in her apartment,
I didn't notice that.
oh, you gotta look at it. It's like it looks from a distance. I was watching in the movie, it looks like mountainscapes. But whenever it gets a close-up scene, you see that they're actually waves.
Waves.
So that mountain and wave journey is everywhere.
Yeah, it's
In
true.
the movie,
Everywhere
too.
in the movie. Yeah, for sure.
But again, that's what I mean. It's just the movie is just. This is really good.
It's inundated with symbolism and
Yeah.
meaning and things that you can. It's a movie you want to see a couple times in order to like really catch. You know, you just start catching on to these things as you're watching them, but it's still hard to put it all together because there's so much to put together.
That's what I mean. It's like, and for a movie that's over 2 hours long,
It's like 2.5.
yeah, it was long.
Yeah.
But this one, and this is where, like Handmaiden, everything on the screen, you're just like,
Perfectly placed.
this means something.
For a reason. You don't really realize that at first because it's covered up by this like crime drama kind of.
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
funny. At first, when we were watching it, the first 30 minutes or so, I was like, yeah, this is good. I'm thinking, you're always evaluating when you're watching. Like, yeah, this is good. But I'm like, I don't know if this is really good. I don't know if I really, like, this is just well-made, like, police drama movie. But then,
It's definitely more than that. Yeah.
as you start noticing it all, and then what's great, right? I'm thinking about it. She wants all his attention and all his whatever. The first half of the movie, he brings her the fancy sushi.
Oh, and then
Later in the movie, he brings her like, what is it, like
corn
a
dog.
corn dog?
Yeah.
And she even goes, huh.
Like now I'm gonna chase him. Basically, is what you know. She's like the love is gone.
Yeah. He's like, enjoy your corn dog.
Those fancy sushi boxes. My goodness,
Right. Right.
I liked that.
The other thing the only thing I regret about the movie, and I was trying to look while we were talking just now, there's that song, The Mist. that they talk about throughout the movie.
And they sing at some point.
Yeah, they sing multiple times.
Yeah, throughout the movie. Is
And
it a
the
real
movie-
song?
Well, yeah, it's a real song, and the movie ends with the song "The Mist," and the lyrics were popping up on the screen as subtitled. But we didn't get a chance to read them because the movie was so long. We had to like run to the bathroom.
Yeah, that's true. We both had to go to the bathroom.
But my understanding is the movie, a lot of the inspiration from the movie came from that song.
Oh, okay.
Like it's an older Korean folk song
Okay.
about being lost in the mist,
Okay.
which he was.
He was, yeah, for sure.
Right?
Definitely.
Which might bring us to the ending talk here in a minute. So we'll.
Yeah. Go to the bathroom?
I don't need to go to that. We're not in the movie theater. We're not drinking a large
I
cherry
have to go to
Coke.
the bathroom.
Well, before we pause to get to the ending, what else do we want to say about? Why do you think it was called Decision to Leave? Whose decision is it to leave? Oh, and that's what I want to talk. I
Well,
knew there was
that's
something
part of
else.
the ending.
Okay. But I think there's multiple
It's
decisions to
hers.
leave.
So she says it in one line in the movie.
The Chinese woman?
Yes. She says it, and I'm like, that's
right, so
why
we'll
they,
talk.
yeah, that's,
But the wife leaves the husband.
yeah, I mean, it's everyone's decision to leave.
That's what I mean. I think all of them have
But the
little...
wife, well, that's part of the ending, too. Let's just
What
pause
do you
and
mean
get
part of
to
the
the
life?
ending.
But here's the when the wife leaves.
Wait, but that's part of the ending. You shouldn't say that now.
Well,
Now we're
we've
going to
already-
have to pause it
cat's
before
out of the
this.
bag. No, cat's out of the bag. The wife.
That's
but the wife is.
that's a surprising part of the ending.
No, it's not.
Not surprising, but that's definitely part of the ending.
I said the only thing we got to worry about spoiling is the last 5 minutes.
Okay. But she has been having an affair the whole time. She's getting that turtle stuff to boost. She takes it with her man. Remember he cracks his knuckles? This man picks her up. She leaves with a man.
I know she does.
With the turtle stuff and the pomegranate, which are both supposed to boost the endorphins and
No, that's what I like.
testosterone.
She left him.
I think she's been having an affair the whole time.
It's possible.
And she's just trying to figure out how she wants to keep loving her husband. So she's telling him she's trying so hard to play by the marriage rules. But when he's gone, she's having an affair. But when he's there, she wants things to work out. But he doesn't. He's disinterested.
She's talked about the guy before, yeah. The one who shows up at the end to help her move. But I thought he had said something like, oh, I've just moved back or I've been transferred or something. Why he's there.
No, she was leaving with him.
No, I know she was. But like why
With
he's
the
in the
turtle
picture. No,
and the pomegranate.
that's what I liked. That earlier
I thought that was funny.
I did too. Earlier in the movie, the husband and wife are de-seeding pomegranates together.
A ton of it.
And she makes a comment about how pomegranates delay menopause. So they keep you fertile.
Right.
And then he learns about turtle shell soup.
Yeah.
About how it boosts testosterone.
Improves testosterone.
And he actually gets called on an investigation for like a bunch of turtles that got stolen.
Right.
And he brings home a turtle. Obviously for the soup later.
Right.
And then when she's leaving him, which I agree, it's hilarious. She's holding the turtle and the pomegranate.
Yeah. She's like, I'm out of here and I'm starting fresh with a new man.
I'm going to be fertile and he's going to be...
And also with the terrible sex, you're like, she's definitely having sex outside the marriage.
No, but I thought you expected her to leave at some point. Like that marriage was over from the second, even though their opening conversation about 55% of weekend marriages end in divorce or whatever. They say all these statistics.
Yeah.
But I did like you. I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I think she's like giving him clues into the fact that she's having an affair and trying to leave. And that's why I think this is part of the ending.
Oh, no, I know, but I think that's just, I mean, I know it's a part, but I think that's, a more minor part of it all.
All right, so let's pause.
So that's all we're going to say about Decision to Leave. Go see it. All
That's
right, we'll let the music play and we'll just talk
Yeah.
this great ending that you keep hinting at.
Okay.
All right, we'll be right back. All right, so the movie ends. She dies. And that's it.
Nobody.
Did you?
She does die.
Did you want her to live? So get to your decision to leave discussion now about her.
Okay.
What did she say?
She says. He says, "Why do you keep marrying men like this?
Abusive men.
Abusive men."
Possessive men. Like, because it never really said. I mean, it did. Her first
She goes,
husband,
because then it gives me the opportunity to make a decision to leave.
Oh. But I thought she was referring to when she meets men like him. It gives her the decision to leave. So when
No,
because
I
she's
think it's-
talking to him about how she can never find a man like him, never wants
Yeah.
a woman like her.
Right, but she never decided to leave her.
But I thought she's saying that a man like him was her decision to leave.
I think in her kind of mentally warped brain, she was attracted to abusive men because she could always decide to leave. She didn't have to stay with them forever.
Mm-hmm.
And her decision to leave is to kill them and leave.
Yeah.
I
But I
think-
thought she was referring to when I find, because she said something like, nobody wants a woman like me. Like, no man like you wants a woman like me.
I think the decision to leave can be interpreted a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
I think I didn't take it that way, the way you're taking it. I can understand how you would take it that way.
I
and
mean,
also,
I
like,
thought she was telling him that he was her decision to leave.
I mean, he made a decision to leave when he decided to like try things better
he
with
never-
his wife.
I guess
but
he
he
made a
never
decision to leave
really,
himself.
like-
I mean, he's a person who never made decisions to leave.
Right. His wife made a decision to leave him.
Yeah.
She made a decision to leave with quote marks, every husband she married because they were abusive. But in a sense, she knew they were going to be abusive. She was attracted to the rich lifestyle or whatnot,
Yeah,
or what
yeah.
they could give her. But she knew what she was going to have to endure. But she knew because she could make the decision to leave.
But she's also the type of person, now I'm thinking about it, who made the decision for other people in some ways too, or helped them make their decision to leave, because she killed her mother.
She did, yes.
Her mother said, kill me and give me the fentanyl. And then she also,
Slappy's mother.
and she killed Slappy's mother.
Yeah.
So when people make their decision to leave,
She was a person who did that for
who
others.
does that, yeah.
Elderly, because she was an elderly caretaker. Well, that was her job.
Yeah, which tends to kill the elderly. And then she makes a decision for herself to leave as well when she commits suicide.
Yeah, she made the decision when she left.
Yeah.
So I think that title kind of
Which
has
I'd be
everything
curious.
to do with every aspect of the movie.
Yeah, I'd be curious what the Korean title is and what does it mean in Korean versus the translation of
True.
English. But no, and then that's just it's a very poetic, like you said at the opening of this, literary type film. And then, like when I was watching this, and I always hate to compare, because there's plenty of good Western American English directors. But it's something also, it's not a simple movie, but at the same time it is a simple movie, right? Like a movie that ends, you're right, it's so literary. It ends with a woman who has dug herself so deep in all these problems in life that she literally digs a hole with a pail.
Mm-hmm.
And she crawls into the hole
I thought that was such a unique way to die, too.
Oh my God, right?
Oh my God.
And
Never seen that
she lets the
suicide
high
mission
tide
before.
come in and
Cover
bury
her
her
up.
with water and sand.
And he's looking for her, literally standing on
But
top
she
of her.
opens the movie talking about how she is the sea,
Part of the sea.
right? And then he shows up looking for her.
He climbs down the mountains into this
Into
where
the
the
sea.
sea is.
And he's standing exactly where she is.
Exactly.
She's under him. And he's enveloped not only in the high tide that's come in and the sea that's getting him, the fog and the mist
Chaos,
rolls.
the mist, everything.
And he's lost in that fog. And it's panning out further and further. And as more water comes in, it's just him in the fog. He can never see clearly. And he still can't see clearly, right? He's always
now
lost.
He's lost everything. He's lost his wife. He's lost the person he was obsessed with. Probably lost his job.
It's
that
very
point.
likely, yeah.
Yeah. Because they have recordings of him,
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
But
saying things that are not good
But
for
it
his
just
job.
ends in such a filmmaker's craft. Like you're truly trying to tell a good story, but also be artful at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Literary and symbolic. That it all ties together perfectly.
Mm-hmm. And I do think that's what a lot of our American movies lack is that kind of
We have a baby approaching. I want the baby on the podcast.
Yeah, especially that one.
I want the baby on the podcast. Let's see what the baby's take on Decision to Leave.
I think that's what some of our movies lack.
4
is
out
kind
of 4
those,
pacifiers.
Literary, kind of taking that through the whole movie, like a really good novel would.
Yeah. It
And
felt
that's
like...
why books are better than
But
movies a lot of times because movies lose that.
unless it's the South Korean film, apparently.
That's the South Korean.
But all right. But no, I thought it was a really good ending. Rather bleak, but still really good.
Definitely bleak. You don't leave there smiling. But it's a good movie.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it.
Right,
It's
so what I was thinking-
97% Rotten
Oh,
Tomatoes.
rightly so. So what I
No,
was...
or was that the other one I was looking at?
No, I think
don't
that's
remember.
the Colin Farrell movie
The
you want to see.
Banshees.
Um,
Yeah. Oh,
What I was trying to think of
on
was
my flashlight.
at our newly found small indie micro members only theater.
Oh, Pine
We
Lake
have-
Cinema?
We have to somehow figure out, Pine Lake Cinema. We have to somehow figure out a Korean, a K-film
Yes,
night,
I'd love that.
right?
Yes.
Saw something I think, what movie do you watch?
The Burning.
I thought The Burning too.
Yes.
But some of me, I'm like, there's so much. How do you do just one film?
But the Korean films are long, too.
Because what we also haven't talked about is Parasite. That could be in the mix.
True.
We like so many movies. Parasite doesn't even make our top 5 list.
I know.
Isn't that
I've
crazy?
seen a lot of Korean movies.
So anyway, I was trying to think of how do you program that? But I was like, maybe it's Burning, maybe it's Decision to Leave.
I definitely think it's...
I think Handmaid's too intense.
Well, we could buy Decision to Leave. As many people hasn't seen.
I know.
Well, nobody's seen any of that. I mean, not nobody, but a lot of...
But I think maybe it's a double feature, Burning and Decision to Leave. I think those are two
Korean
good
films in one night?
Yeah, I think those are 2 entry-level films that people can really you're jazzed for it.
Okay.
You start with Decision to Leave, and then you play Burning.
Decision to Leave is dark. It's depressing.
I
at the
know.
end, but it's funny in some parts. But The Burning... So Decision to Leave and then The Burning.
Then Burning.
So Decision to Leave is a little more complicated, where The Burning is a little more straightforward.
But I think Burning's the more powerful film.
Yeah, I agree.
And it has a pretty disturbing ending, too. Burning does.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It definitely does. But that's what we do at Pine Lake Cinema.
Yeah.
We
All right.
provide disturbing endings to your night.
Because I think Handmaiden is a little too intense, especially with the ending of Handmaiden. I mean, it's pretty over the top erotic.
It's too intense, like sexually, I feel like.
Parasite. I mean, you could do a familiar like a Parasite. I don't know.
But a lot of people have seen Parasite because it's so easy.
Well, it won. It was Best
it's the
Picture.
Best Picture.
Yeah. And we hate on Best Picture, so I get it.
We don't hate on Best Pictures.
I'm joking. All right. Well, this was fun. We didn't cheers at the end of our thing, but let's cheers now.
I gotta grab my empty glass.
And then figure out what our next... We don't know what our next one's going to be, but we're still working on our 1992 rewatch.
Yeah.
5 classics. So
The
watch that.
Unforgiven,
Unforgiven,
White
Reservoir
Men Can't
Dogs,
Jump.
White Men Can't Jump.
A Few Good Men.
A Few Good Men, A Crying Game, The
That's
Crying
it.
Game. Is
That's
that 5?
Yeah.
All right, we'll cap it at 5 this time. All
We're
right.
working on it.
Well, yeah, we've been gone for a while, but we're back.
We're back.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Cheers.
Cheers.